Haile Selassie was a modernizing monarch who spoke to the League of Nations with the voice of a small country asking the world to keep its promise. This is the true-life story of how fascist Italy, aided by secret diplomacy and the impotence of international institutions, turned that plea into proof of a wider conspiracy in Africa in the 1930s. Autumn of 1935, Benito Mussolini launched a full-scale invasion of Ethiopia from Italian Eritrea and Somaliland. The pretext was the 1934 Wal-Wal clash, an obscure skirmish at an oasis in the Ogaden, magnified into a casus belli. Italy's army was modern, mechanized, and air-powerful. Ethiopia's forces were brave but largely underarmed. Within weeks, the conflict escalated into a catastrophic colonial drive. The tension. From November 1935, the world expected the League of Nations to act. Instead, two parallel stories unfolded, one visible, one clandestine. Publicly, the League debated sanctions. Privately, diplomats in London and Paris were negotiating to placate Mussolini. In December 1935, British Foreign Secretary Samuel Hoare and French Prime Minister Pierre Laval drew up a secret proposal, the Hoare-Laval Pact, to give Italy most of Ethiopia in return for ending the war. When the plan leaked early in 1936, it caused outrage. Yet the episode revealed something worse than appeasement, a conspiracy of convenience among European powers willing to carve up a sovereign African state to protect their own interests. The conspiracy deepened on the battlefield. Despite international law, the 1925 Geneva Protocol banning chemical warfare, Italian commanders, under orders from Rome and executed by generals such as Pietro Badoglio, and field commanders including Rodolfo Graziani, turned to chemical weapons and terror bombing. Mustard gas and other blister agents were dropped from aircraft and delivered by artillery and mortar shells. Italian pilots targeted not only military positions but villages, markets, and columns of fleeing civilians. Eyewitness accounts, missionary reports, and later investigations documented horrific burns, blindness, and agonizing deaths among soldiers and civilians alike. The cover-up. Mussolini's government denied systematic use of gas, censored foreign journalists, and manipulated propaganda to portray its campaign as a civilizing mission. Meanwhile, the Hoare-Laval episode and the League's weak sanctions, measures that excluded key resources like oil and were never fully enforced, meant there was little political or material price to pay. Britain and France, fearful of another continental crisis and anxious to keep Italy from Hitler's orbit, quietly undermined the principle of collective security. The result? A war where illegal tactics were used with near impunity and where diplomatic secrecy shielded perpetrators. Turning point. On June 30th, 1936, Haile Selassie walked into the League of Nations Assembly in Geneva and delivered an impassioned denunciation. He named the aggressor, described the suffering of his people, and asked whether the covenant meant anything. History remembers the speech as a moral indictment. Less widely remembered is how it exposed a fractured international order, compromised by secret pacts and selective enforcement. Aftermath and consequence. Italy completed its conquest, and the Ethiopian state was brutally repressed. Estimates of the dead run into the tens of thousands. The long-term agony of poison gas and scorched communities lingered for generations. In 1941, with British help, Haile Selassie returned to power, yet the damage to international credibility had been done. The Hoare-Laval betrayal and the League's impotence signaled to aggressive regimes that covenants could be ignored if great powers chose expedience over principle. That erosion of trust helped pave the road to the wider conflagration of World War II. Explanation of the conspiracy. This was not a single clandestine plot in a basement, but a layered conspiracy of statecraft and warfare. On one layer, the Italian regime conspired internally to break international prohibitions, authorizing chemical warfare and mass reprisals while smothering evidence. On another, Western democracies conspired through quiet diplomacy and unfinished sanctions, exchanging the moral authority of collective security for short-term geopolitical bargains. Together, they created an environment in which a sovereign African nation could be invaded, gassed, and carved up, while the institutions meant to stop such crimes were neutralized by secrecy and realpolitik. The story of Ethiopia in the 1930s remains a cautionary documentary. When power conspires with silence, the truth, and the victims, are the ones left to testify. Haile Selassie's speech endures as a warning. International law is only as strong as the will of those who promise to enforce it.